Hi, this is Carl again, also known as Zarepath, the Custom Magic community. I'm here to talk about the Custom Magic set High Noon, which is a Wild West uh, magic set. It's made by Cajun, who many of us should know as the guy who does the mainframe templates in Magic Set Editor and just all kinds of wonderful custom modifications so that we can make our great custom cards. So major props to him for his work on that and making the tools so great for the community and also for this set. So I'm reviewing sets for the custom standard, which is a constructed format of custom sets. And right now we're about to vote on which set should join next, and 10 different sets have been nominated. I've been reviewing them one by one. High Noon is, I think, the fourth or fifth one. Metropolis is one I'm probably not going to review because it's my own and I already did a little video on it that you can find on my channel already. But let's talk about High Noon. It brings back Detain, which is pretty flavorful. It makes sense. Yeah. Whenever an artifact or enchantment enters, you can detain a non-land permanent. I don't see that. Maybe if there's a synergy deck with some other kind of artifact deck of a format that has lots of artifacts in it, like if Metropolis were to rotate in, maybe this goes into an artifact deck. This is interesting. Detain synergy. Probably doesn't make it into constructed. Huh. Oh, there's a balance thing. Wow. Be an interesting general to have. Okay, I like this. This is banishing light as at flash at instant speed for 4 mana. I think this would be a nice dimension to the white removal suite right now. Seems to be a lot of this kind of thing, like as until this leaves the battlefield. It just seems similar to Collapsed Mine, and I thought I saw another Detain design like that, but maybe I'm wrong. This is a nice little combo piece, I think. Well, not a combo piece, but it seems like a Johnny card. You blink your creatures, and they don't come back till the next end step. I'm trying to protect my voice a little more. I've realized that doing all of these videos, I don't normally talk a lot. For work, I just do everything online from my computer, so I don't. My voice isn't used to this amount of strain trying to do all these set reviews in a short amount of time. This is a card that might see play. It's a 2/1 first strike for 2, which is an okay rate, and then being able to have some staying power afterwards is good. I like that it's kind of a shields up, shields down moment where it only works if you have the white mana, which can feel bad in some situations, but I think makes for an overall better design. There's just a little more counterplay and interaction available. Okay, so some more blinking. Seems odd that there's 2 rare blinking cards. And I wonder why it's a sub-theme. I wonder if there's other mechanics I haven't seen yet that rely on ETB triggers. This is a very interesting card. It's pretty situational. It's not a real silence. They can't cast non-creature spells, and they can't activate abilities or mana abilities. So that stops planeswalker activations and counter spells. Maybe this sees play in a sideboard in like blue-white control mirrors, something like that. But this would be an interesting card to have in the toolbox. He's made some of these kind of promo templates for his cards, which is interesting. Being able to give indestructible and instant speed is always a potential tool in white. Hmm. I really love this design. Uh, I think this is going to be more in control, but then it's not. You can prevent damage an attacking creature would deal first. Maybe if you have a self-milling deck, this becomes much better. But I enjoy this design. You have to cast a warning shot first before you can kill him next time, and then it becomes a very attractive rate for creature removal. Or, you can self-mill it, and then it's just great to have in your hand. So I really like this card. This is a fun one. Also, after you fired a warning shot, the opponent is on notice, right? They're like, okay, if he's got another one, he might, with that one white mana that he's left open, he might have another exile removal spell. What the heck? So this is just hunt for an amazing ETB ability, basically. I suspect that this is broken. I mean, just Ether Leak into an Emrakul, obviously. That's pretty crazy. Oh, I mean, you get another turn, right? It's a 4-mana Time Walk at that point. I mean, this could make for an interesting deck, but I suspect this is easily broken, especially since it finds the combo piece it wants. I'd feel differently if you had to do it from your hand, but the fact that you just search your library for it makes it feel a little too self-solving. And I think the Johnnies that will want this card would appreciate more having to deck build more carefully for it. But that's just my instinct. Enchant permanent or spell. That is funky. So, why would you ever cast this on a spell? If you wanted to return your own burn spell to your hand, or if you wanted to put it on their creature. This is a really funky card. It probably wouldn't see play. I'm just a little mystified by the design. It's very interesting. I wonder how it plays. Okay, here's another mechanic, Quick Draw. It allows you to cast things for a different rate as though they had flash. Well, this already has instant speed, so maybe this isn't the best highlight card for it. It's unsubstantiate with a bonus. That's kind of nice. Anyway, you can only do it at the quick draw cost, like Reflex from Laredo, except that it has this additional timing restriction of you have to have a blocking or blocked creature, which makes combat much more interesting. I wonder if that disincentivizes your opponent from attacking. Like, well, I don't want to activate their quick draw stuff on my turn. Hmm. Yeah, I like the design of that. Makes combat feel like it matters more. Permanent spell, you get a gold. Okay, that seems okay. That would see play for sure, I think. That would be a new... I think that would be the new 4 of counterspell in the decks that want the hard counterspells. Vision, this is another new mechanic, and I know Cajun has already worked on redesigning it due to some criticism he's got for it. We're going to talk about how we see it here. Whenever this or any other creature enters the battlefield under your control, you reveal the top card and you can put it into your graveyard. So it's kind of like Surveil, except both players see it, and it cares more about what card is on top and what you do with it. So Surveil, it's scry. Sometimes it works with graveyard synergies. This, anytime any creature comes into play, all your visions activate. And I feel like most of the vision designs care about you envisioning a certain kind of card. I, I think that's what makes it interesting. Otherwise, it's just enormous strategic complexity for the player. They're always looking at the top of their deck trying to decide if they really want it there or not. But it's also giving information to the opponent. So I can see this just really bogging down some games. The new version, I think, just limits it to the one creature on ETB. I'm not sure. It makes it more of an action word. And there's different triggers for it, like when you attack Envision, and that's when you look at the top card, things like that. This is like Warning Shot, where 2 of these lets you combo. Otherwise, they require a little bit of synergy. Oh, weird. So this, you actively don't want it to deal damage to an opponent. But then why would they ever block? Because now you effectively have a 2/2 unblockable that loots for you. It's interesting. I wonder how it feels to play against and play with. Like, if there's just going to be massive disappointment when they don't block it, even though you're heading towards the win by dealing damage to them that way. I don't think I like Disallow in the same set as Arcane Heist. They seem to occupy the same space. Dispel is good to have. I don't think we have that right now in Custom Standard. So that'd be a nice inclusion. This seems to step on the space of Envision. Like, this looks like an Envision design that lost the vision ability. Although it only looks that way because it synergizes with Envision. You can kind of fix what cards are going to be on top so that you can envision a specific thing. I don't know. Counter a monocolored spell? Seems okay. Probably not seen playing Constructed. Full House. That's a cute flavor for this, and it seems like a fine design. Blue is kind of lacking in playable board wipes right now, and so I think this would be a nice thing to have. Ghostly Flicker. This is going to introduce some combos, although I think Ghostly Flicker only really combos in the Pauper format. So, okay. This is an interesting design. I'm just kind of down generally on all the vision cards, and I'm kind of assuming they're going to change. I don't think... See, you have to control a creature. You can't just do this into an empty board, the quick draw triggers. And so it really incentivizes you to have a board presence, which is too bad because when I see instant speed, I'm thinking a control deck. That doesn't mean you can't have like Omen Speaker equivalent in your deck just for the bottom of your curve, give you some card selection, and also give you the ability to hit some of these quick draw cards. I don't think this one makes it, but there are likely others that would be worth playing in a control deck. Invisible Stalker. This would be a major reason to splash blue in Boggles. Yeah, so that would be one thing that this set would definitely do to the format. I think Invisible Stalker is still kind of a design mistake. But it would definitely see play in Boggles. I don't know if this is the kind of thing people want to see on the opposite side of the table. It just feels a little bit unfair, even if they beat it. Okay, that's a little combo-y. Huh, Nameless Drifter. That's interesting. In some kind of aristocrat stack, this can get you a lot of cards to refuel your engine. Pocket Aces, I really love this design. I love deck building. That's my favorite part of Magic. And introducing a deck building like mechanic into the actual gameplay of Magic sounds really exciting to me. The problem is a lot of times, just the way Magic works, shuffling 4 cards from outside the game into your library is not going to have an impact. I guess at this point you're looking for specific toolbox cards. I'd be curious if this is seen play in other formats or how it's played in testing, because I really enjoy the design of this. And I like that it's a good base rate to kind of compensate for, the chance of the first clause, which is the exciting part, not actually paying out. This is one of my favorite designs that I saw in the set. I don't think that makes it. A hexproof aura. That'd be another reason to go into blue, because right now in green and white they have some great aura matters cards, but they tend to not have hexproof. So if you splash blue, you get Invisible Stalker and Silence of the Drifter. I don't know if 3 colors is where you want to be for Boggles, because you want to be very consistent, very fast. But it'd be a thing. Another blue control finisher, and target creature to their owner's hands. Well, can you do that? Can you activate that ability on an empty board? I guess it can target itself, right? +4/+4. That doesn't seem like a blue ability, even though it costs 7 mana. It just doesn't feel blue to me. Spirit of the Falls is a funky card. You can choose any permanent type, and that's including lands. So you can play this for 8 mana, and return all lands. And remember Ether Leak? You can find this guy, play Spirit of the Falls and exile it, and return all lands to everybody's hands. Or all creatures, or whatever. I appreciate it costs 8 mana, but at this point, with Ether Leak in the same set, these triggers become potentially problematic. If it weren't for Ether Leak, I'd say this design is probably fine. Well, I don't know if it should be allowed to remove all lands, because this could get hit by reemergence. There's all kinds of ways to cheat things like this out. And I feel like cheating things out that remove all lands from the battlefield is not a good gameplay pattern for a format. Preventing people from being able to play Magic is not great, even though it just goes to their hands and they then have to then will be able to just play them back out again. That just stalls out the game so much. Scarecrow Soldier, excellent. This seems like a large set, like with a lot of cards in it. Oh, wait, what? Okay, so you can play this just for blue to draw 2 and discard 2. So that's card disadvantage, but if you care about graveyard synergies, maybe this is a good card for you. You could find a specific thing. Maybe it helps you find reemergence and bin your target, your reanimation target. Quick draw, you just draw 2 cards at instant speed, which is okay. So I guess that could see play. But again, you have to have a creature that allows you to play it on your combat step. Oh, this is interesting. So you can either draw 2 cards or take one of the piles that your opponent offers out of 5. Window shopping? I don't quite like the look of any of them, to be honest. That's hilarious. I really like that design. That's fun. Oh, yikes. Less than or equal to the number of cards in your hand. I don't like that this disincentivizes playing cards from your hand. Removing counters. Because the next mechanic is bounty counters. But why would you want to remove them in black? I don't know. Oh, you can remove counters from a planeswalker. That is pretty good. And you can return it to your hand. Okay. I don't see how this is a legend. It seems a lot too reactive to be an appealing legend, in my opinion. Becomes a 3/2 Death Touch if you got 5 or more cards in your graveyard, so maybe there's some graveyard synergy in the set. It seems like a major theme just out of those couple cards. Posting a bounty, so when you do that you put a counter on it, and when that creature dies, all of that player's opponents get to draw a card. I think that seems fine. There's going to be a lot of matchups where it doesn't matter in Custard because some decks just don't have a lot of creatures. Okay, this is a cheaper tutor, but it costs more life because Yeah, it costs you some life to do so. Would that see play in Is-Emerge just to find the card you need? Maybe in some matchups to help you get the combo off. Now that Patches is being redesigned, this might be a way to give you more consistency. I don't know. There are some rogue synergies in the set. So you can make him discard 2 cards for 2 mana. I think this would see play in a rogue deck if there is a rogue deck. Oh. That's huge. Would I put this in mono black control as like a finisher? If there was a good way in mono black to get lots of mana, if there was some kind of crypt ghoul or whatever it's called, the thing that lets you double mana from swamps, this would slot right into that deck. It would be a lot like Rakdos' Return, how that used to be used in the mono black control deck. Except, you're not wiping out their hand, but you can stabilize and remove creatures with this, or you can finish the game with it. So very good. That seems okay. Seems about the correct rate. Might see play from sideboards against aggro. Instant speed reanimation, but there's a bounty on the creature, so if it gets removed, your opponent gets a card. I like this card. This seems fun. Maybe it creates a different kind of reanimator deck outside from reemergence. Or it goes with the reemergence deck. You can play this at the end of their turn to get Izalith and then attack with her on your turn. So she gets the haste of reemergence. After a fashion, you have to do it at the end of their turn. That might be a nice redundancy to that deck that it's looking for after the Patches redesign. I guess there's a little bit of Spirit Tribal there. Doesn't look like a spirit. A lot of these spirits just look like zombies, but this is a funky card. I guess if you have ways of losing life in your aggro deck, you can use this and then reliably get it back on your turn, which leads to an interesting Suicide Black strategy. Like this would go really well with Sick Nick from Metropolis. You play this turn 1, give it to them, they're at 17. On their turn, maybe they just keep it as a blocker. On your turn, you play Sick Nick and you +1, and both players lose life. Although, how would that work rules-wise? If both players lose life at the same time, who gets control of Grey Gulch Revenant? I don't know. Maybe active player loses life first, and then the other player loses life. So I guess that wouldn't go so well with Sick Nick. And Sick Nick isn't in the format yet anyway. Some more Rogue Tribal. I haven't been keeping track of actual rogue creatures, but I know that Custard is going to have rogue creatures from other sets. Haunting Horseman is Hypnotic Spectre. I could see this seeing play in some kind of tempo deck. It's evasive and gets you card advantage. So yeah, that's something I'd look for. Huh. Wasn't there already a return a creature from your graveyard to hand, and if you control a spirit, get a bonus design? And there was already a make them discard 2 card design. Murder. Appropriate flavor, great art, nice centered text. I appreciate that. Draw 2 cards, lose 2 life, and get a gold. Yeah, that would see play. I'd play that. I'd play that in my mono black control for card advantage and ramp. Ravenous Chupacabra. We know that that's a player in Standard. Uh, this is a good rate for removal that would be useful. Oh, this is a good way to... oh, this would go well with the Revenant, right? It'll give you ways to pay life and regain control of that guy. Although, it doesn't work because if you pay a life and target a creature, well, they can just pay one life to keep it. So then they just regain control. It's kind of an aristocrat's card. Maybe. I mean, if you want to regain some life. I like the internal design of that guy. You can pay life to make him try and sacrifice things, and then you can sacrifice a creature to get some life so you can do it more. Oh, you want to put bounties on itself? That's interesting. So this can attack as a 3/3. I like this design. It's kind of fun. It can then become a 5/3, but then they get a bunch of cards. This is a really interesting mini game and a way to encourage players to engage in risk-reward sub-games. So I really like the design of Spirit of Infamy. This seems very similar to uh, the Tutor, where you find a card and then you lose life, according to the number of cards in your hand. Graveyard Hate seems okay. This is just a way to put lots of bounties on things. Put a bounty on something and draw a card. Oh, Wanted. Huh. I really like this design. It's nice, clean, and simple. You need a creature to play it. So again, I don't know if it can just be main decked. That's a problem with the bounty mechanic, is as great as it is, I don't know how pushed you can do it for constructed, because it requires there to be creatures that you can remove, which isn't relevant in every matchup. Wendigo. Huh. It wants food. I could see that being a build around. I mean, it could slot into aristocrat style decks pretty easily. But the thing I like about it is aristocrat decks just kind of take a while to build up their engine and kind of grind the games out. Whereas this style of aristocrat is actively trying to finish the game. It's getting bigger, you're attacking with it. This is another thing that cares about the number of cards in your hand, and I don't think I like that sub-theme very much, as I said earlier, just because it's probably better to encourage players to play their cards as opposed to keeping them for bigger effects on the cards they do play. This is another interesting card that creates a sub-game between you and your opponent. There's some timing issues, like it has to be clear who has priority when. But it's kind of an amusing card, and when you play it, it immediately introduces a fun sub-game. Oh. Would this see play anywhere? Just because this automatic loot is really good. It's probably not, because the thing it wants to be doing is attacking, and decks that want things attacking at 3 mana with haste probably want something more impactful than a little bit of card selection. This is weird because giving Menace during the combat step doesn't do anything. Oh, Cathartic Reunion. Holy smokes. Is that something we want? I mean, I would slam that in Isomerge every day. I'd be happy to build around this, but I don't know if it'd be healthy to have it, if you know what I mean. There's not a lot of other Dredge things going on in the format, but the fact that Isomerge just won the tournament without losing any matches, and this would actively help it, like this would be a strict upgrade over Tormenting Voice, um, is room for some concern. It'd be something to talk about. Okay, that seems fine. I like that. To each creature, okay. I like this guy, Deputy Gibbon. When he comes into play, you put bounties on everything, and then you start trying to knock them off and get cards back. That seems okay. Other centaurs. There's centaur tribal here too. Centaurs and elk. I don't know what it is with these sets, but they they really like the tribal of these odd tribes. Also, giving haste quick draw speed is a little weird. I know that you want to give reasons for this to not just be cast during quick draw, and giving things like haste and menace makes you more apt to do it at sorcery speed, but you really don't want the highlighted mechanical mode to feel like you've lost on something. Okay. Nice framing. This is a nice looking planeswalker. 2 damage divided as you choose. That seems nice. Draw 2 cards unless someone has them deal 3 damage to them. Nice, I approve. Being able to draw 2 cards with a +1 is really good. Dealing 3 damage with a +1 is also really good, so it's probably costed correctly. And the -9 seems appropriate. I really like this planeswalker design. It's nice, simple, it's clean. There's not really like a theme and like tons of internal synergy with the card, but I think that's okay. All of the modes are always going to be live, and I think that's okay. Okay, so High Noon, it is lightning bolt as long as there's a bounty counter out. I don't think this makes it just because I don't think bounty counters are going to make it into Custard. Like, not into decks. Although maybe, like this design it's okay removal, and then potentially getting a card by putting a bounty on another creature is pretty appealing. I really like the flavor of this. The flavor on a lot of these individual cards has been great. Like Remember This and Full House and Pocket Aces, just a lot of great resonant thematic designs. When this is exiled from your library, you can cast it without paying its mana cost. Wow. Exiled from your library. So what thing's exiled from your library? There was that other red thing that this exiles from the top of the library. That's a Johnny card if I've ever seen one. I suspect there's got to be some way to break that. Exile it from your library. There's cards that exile any cards you want from your library. Not in Custard right now, but there was in one of the other sets I reviewed. It would let you exile any number of cards from your library. So that would give you 4 of these. And I know that in Worldwake there's a card, I think it costs 4 mana and it's blue. Exile any number of cards from your library. So this would be good with that. Will that be broken with that? I don't know, but that'd be one of the ways to break it if there was one. So this is one to watch and hunt for synergies for. I don't think I'm against the design. It's a very exciting design. The question is if the ability itself is going to be too strong. Gain control of a land. It costs 4 mana. This lets you loot as you climb up the ladder. Oh, this could be really big if you've gone wide. That might see play. It doesn't really have any evasion or trample or something like that. But it definitely feels strong as something to curve into. Rain of Blood would see play. 3 damage to each creature and each player. Oh. Would this see play in burn decks? Burn decks sometimes want card advantage for that little bit of extra reach. And normally these exile spells I don't like because they're only good when you also have other mana. But if you do this and you get a burn spell, then use the rest of your mana to cast burn spell, it's like you did 2 burn spells in one. You spent 5 mana to deal 6 damage or whatever, but only 1 card. This is interesting. It's probably not something you want to cast, because then they can have their creatures fight yours. Flying and first strike. Everything wheels whenever it attacks. Whenever they discard a card, it deals 1 damage to them. So this seems like something that slots into Nekasar, the Mind Razor. This would be a re-emergence target also. That would be interesting. Because you would get a wheel. So after discarding your stuff, casting re-emergence, discarding this, maybe at a negative rate, you'd be able to go back up to 7, deal some damage to them. You're probably dealing 3 to 4 damage to them, plus 7. It's like 10 damage. You don't get to keep it like you would Izalith and her target. Well, you wouldn't keep Izalith, you'd keep her target. But that's an interesting potential card. Hold on a second. Are you going?
Yeah, because of gymnastics.
Okay, is Ruzi?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like something I told everyone to do earlier. She's pretty smart. Are you by yourself?
I'll be up in supposedly. Okay, sorry about that. Oh. You can steal opponents' cards when they enter play. And then they gain haste. But why would they need to gain haste? Oh, until the end of your next turn. Oh my gosh. So this is actually a crazy counterspell against creatures and planeswalkers. It's probably obnoxiously good. I'd probably want to see this cost 5 mana. Alright, some more vision stuff. For each creature that entered the battlefield this turn. I could see that getting big, but I don't know. Definitely a high ceiling on this. Depends how the deck works out. If you have a going wide tokens deck. Oh, this would slot into Boggles just for being a 2-drop with hexproof in the right colors. I don't see how the next line of text helps. I guess from anywhere, if you're self-milling for some reason, or just casting spells normally. But normally the spells you're casting in Boggles are permanents. So maybe this works with a different strategy other than just Boggles, but some other way to pump this up really big. Into your graveyard from anywhere. Huh. It's got some Elf Tribal as well. What? Elves and Scouts? It's a little weird that this helps 2 different tribes at once, neither of which I've seen tribal support for. I mean, I see Elf Scouts in here, but... And then there's Centaur Tribal again. Some more of... If you'd lose, it becomes colorless instead. I like this. This lets you ramp up really big. This is kind of a fun design. I could see decks being built around this. If you're not curving out perfectly, you can just give yourself a little bit of extra mana here and there. Or even intentionally not play anything on turn 4 so that you can play an 8 drop on turn 5 or a 9 drop. Oh, I really like this card. Self-milling, great rate. I'd put this in my black-green dredge deck that I'm always trying to work on and make good, but it just isn't good. I like this design. That would be a fun tool to have. Self-milling creature with a good body. Okay, this seems more like a limited card. Ignore all effects that would prevent it from attacking or blocking. Wow. I mean, in constructed, this is most likely to just get killed. And unless you consider being dead an effect that prevents it from attacking or blocking, I think that would be the end of the Mistbreaker. Some more graveyard hate. There seems to be a lot of graveyard hate in this set. I'm not entirely sure why. I mean, I know that there's some graveyard matters stuff, but it doesn't seem to work with the mechanics necessarily. That seems like a big alpha card, but probably a limited bomb and not for constructed. Hmm. Oh, and then there's a boggle, so I think I identified 3 different potential boggles in this set. The 1-drop, the 2-drop, and then the invisible stalker. A scout or land. Yeah, there's that scout tribal. Oh, that's kind of an interesting ramp card. But it puts you on the basic lands, which isn't ideal. Hmm. This seems to occupy the same space as the 2/3 that was at common that intentionally mills 2, and this gives you the option, but it's a 2/2. I feel like those kind of share too much of the same space. Oh, you can, if you have a scout, pay 2 mana to find 2 basic lands and ramp them. This is an interesting idea, but it's probably not likely that you're always going to have enchantments on top of your library. Yeah, all this top of the library stuff must have to do with vision. I'm not sure how fun it is, but I appreciate that there's synergy there. Alright, multicolor. I don't think blue and red should be making opponent sacrifice permanents. I think red can kind of do that, but it feels weird on that design. Hmm. This is kind of fun, but probably not constructed playable. Alright, another Planeswalker. You can tap and deal damage. Wow. That -1 is real strong. I'd rather see that as a -2, I think. Being able, I mean, this very easily 2 for 1s. Hmm. I mean, I know it's more interactable than a Banishing Light or an Oblivion Ring, but the fact that it just has the potential to do 2 and then ramp up and win the game is pretty crazy. Hmm. Why does it need to have a counter on it? Oh, bounty. Then you get a gold. That's kind of fun. I wonder if this synergizes with other aristocrat stuff that puts counters on things. And then when you sacrifice it, you also get gold. I don't know. I'm thinking if you're sacrificing your own stuff. I know it's intended for killing opponents' things. This is a reprint, I think, from a Ravnica set. There's some graveyard synergy. That seems kind of fine. Probably not. Well, this can get real big. Spirit Tribal. Oh, wow. A lot of these cards I say oh wow at. I could see how they'd be interesting and fun, but they're just not competitive enough for constructed at that point. Flying and Vigilance on a black-green creature. Ah, this reminds me of GDS 3. Oh, exile creature cards from your graveyard. Huh, this could get big and stupid. I think I'm starting to see that black-green graveyard deck. You self-mill a bunch, you exile the creatures, get this thing big. You get gold when you cast creature spells. I don't think that's good enough. It's kind of a fun play pattern there, but again, not sure where it goes. Recoil is a huge... I mean, this is a reprint that that is pretty powerful. This would definitely be appealing in C play, I think, in blue-black control. Rocksite of Night Rail. Each rogue can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. And you can gain control of their permanents unless they pay 1. Wow. Oh, wow. This is really good in a wide deck. It just deals a bunch of free damage. I mean, it deals 1 damage no matter what, whenever it attacks. And probably often an extra 2 or 3. So this is very strong. Stick Up is kind of a funky card that they discard a card at random, which isn't always fun for them. And if it costs 3 or less, you can cast it if you want. I bet this leads to very swingy plays that probably is not going to be fun. I know it'd be fun to see this resolve, but probably not to play against or play as and have to rely on it, or to pray that it doesn't do something good. And the way it's costed is probably too competitively costed to not be in that window where people will run it and then be disappointed either because of how good it is or because of how weak it is. That's my thought anyway. Oh, this is a really fun mythic. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a token that's a copy of this. Although it goes out exponentially. So you cast a couple spells after casting this, and you've got all kinds of flying hasty birds. Uh, Maybe this should be a 2/2. I think it's okay to test it as is, but I really like that design. That's fun. I've noticed a lot of cost reduction mechanics. I'm not always a big fan of those. I'm okay with having summon sets, but something I noticed in the drop list is all of the cost reduction I had was kind of um, just not letting the mechanics shine on their own. The mechanics should be fun to play, whether you're able to do it for free or cheaper, or not. That was my issue anyway. You control equipped creature. Holy smokes. But it can't attack or block. I mean, it's basically removal, right? For 6 mana, but in 2 installments. Scarecrow Tribal. Dead Man's Hand. This is a cute card, but there's no way it ever sees play. 2 permanents with converted mana cost 8. I don't know how often that's gonna happen. There's gonna be a lot of math with this card. Huh, that's fun. So this could be 2 mana cycling. Or it can be 2 mana tempo. I like that card. 8 mana 3/8 at common. That is strange. Probably incredibly unplayable. The Wicker Lord. Scarecrow tribal. There's just too many tribes, I think. I wish that this were more focused on 1, 2, maybe 3 tribes. But I feel like, you have the centaurs, you have the rogues, you have the scarecrows. I guess that's 3, but there's also spirits. I feel like there's something else. There was elves and scouts. I like this land design. If you don't draw land, then this can be that extra mana, and both of it is any mana of any color. I think this is a fun design. This works really well with quick draw. They enter tapped, but you can pay 1 life to untap it. So why not just play a mountain? Well, because after that turn, you can use it on your main, and then untap it for their turn, and then be ready to cast instant spells or spells with quick draw. So I appreciate that design. I don't know if, well, I could see the blue and white ones seeing play in controlling decks. Each player discards their hand and draws 7 cards. Well, I think aggro decks will just run one of these just to refuel or burn decks. Okay, so that's High Noon. A lot of really fun, flavorful cards. Um, Interesting mechanics with Bounty and Quick Draw. I know Envision is probably getting a little bit of a rework. Um, a lot of interesting build around cards that really made me pause and think how I'd build around them. So yeah, that was High Noon by Cajun. I hope that's been helpful for uh, your view of the sets as you look to vote for custom standard, and I hope it's been enjoyable, and I hope this was a helpful video. So thank you for listening.